friends, I'm Dr. Maninder Shah, and today we'll be talking about talar neck fractures, and we'll be going through the different types of fractures that are there, and we'll be talking about the anatomy and a little bit about treatment and how exactly to manage these fractures well. So we'll be going through the whole thing for talar neck fractures. So to start off with, this is an X-ray, not of a talus fracture, but of a chest injury. So if you see this history of this lady, it's a 25-year-old lady who's had a 50 feet fall down a mountainside. 4 co-passengers have died, and there's a bilateral clavicle fracture. There's also a right brachial plexus injury and a right talus fracture. So there's a fracture dislocation of the talus on the X-ray, and this is a typical history of a talus fracture. A talar injury is always a high impact, high energy injury, and that's what you have to really keep in mind to look for any antecedent or coexisting injuries, especially to the calcaneum, to the other parts of the midfoot and the hindfoot, to the knee, to the hip, and to the spine whenever we have a talus fracture. So a talus fracture is never a low energy injury. It's always a high level injury. And that's really an important thing. So these high-level injuries have always had a high limit of a soft tissue injury along with the bony injury. Again, a very important factor to keep in mind. The anatomy of the talus gives us clues about how the fracture occurs and what patterns of injuries we see in the talar neck fractures. So a talus has a complex shape. If you see it in 3D, it's really very difficult to understand the anatomy of the talus, and more so, especially during surgery, we can't really see much of the talus when we during our approaches, and that's what the difficulty is, getting an anatomical alignment back. So the complex shape is really important to understand. So we have the head neck with the axis of the body. So this is the body of the talus, okay? So this is the body, and this is the head. So if you see that the body versus the head axis is medially aligned. So the head is medially aligned as compared to the body, and that gives us a bit of a varus alignment of the whole of the talus, okay? So in the ankle mortise, it sits neutral, whereas the head points medially. So the compression surface in a talus fracture will be the medial side, and the tension surface is on the lateral side. So that's really an important point. If we look at the plantar aspect, so if you see, this is the body again here, and we have the head again. So this is the head, and this is the body. So again, the head is aligned plantarwards. So the dorsal surface here becomes the tension surface of the talus, and the plantar surface becomes the compression surface of the talus. So this gives us a clue about how the injury will happen when you have a fall. So another peculiarity about talus is that there is no muscle attachment on talus. All the blood supply to the talus enters via the area which is devoid of cartilage, and that is through ligaments. So the talus is covered, 3/5 of the area of the talus is covered with cartilage. So the cartilage, through the cartilage, there cannot be any ingress of the blood supply. So the blood supply is unique of the talus, and that blood can only enter via 30% of the area which is devoid of cartilage. Now, that blood supply goes through ligaments, okay? So the ligamentous attachments of the talus are really important to understand how many ligaments have actually been injured in a certain type of talus fracture for us to give a prognostication of how the blood supply has been affected. So it has a very unique blood supply, and that gives us the unique perspective of a talus fracture, which will lead to an avascular necrosis. So looking at the vascular anatomy, these are some figures taken from the AO website. 3 sources are the main important sources of a talus. So we have the posterior tibial artery, which has the deltoid branch which goes through the deltoid ligament, okay? And we have the tarsal canal artery, which is going through the tarsal canal. So if you see this is the posterior tibial artery here, okay? And this is giving the deltoid branch here, this one, okay? And this is the tarsal canal artery, okay? So this is the tarsal canal artery here, and that you can see is basically supplied with 2 levels of blood supply, So we have the anterior tibial artery giving the artery to the sinus tarsi, and then the peroneal artery giving another artery to the sinus tarsi. So deltoid artery, main supply, okay? Tarsal canal artery, small supply, and mid-level supply through the artery to the sinus tarsi, which is supplied by both the peroneal artery and the anterior tibial artery. So that's an important point to understand, that the deltoid artery, which is branch of the posterior tibial artery, is the main blood supply. So if you understand how much of the blood supply is given by the different arteries, if you look at this, the posterior tibial artery gives this much of the blood supply. So mainly the whole of the body of the talus is supplied by the posterior tibial artery. The anterior tibial artery gives supply to a smaller area, and the perforating peroneal artery gives supply to a plantar aspect. So again, the whole of the body then is supplied by posterior tibial artery. The main area of AVN is the body of the talus. So the deltoid ligament artery has to be injured really for the AVN to occur, and that's what's happened in ankle dislocations. So with the talus fracture associated with ankle dislocations, the AVN chances increase. So we have the classification. How do we classify these talus fractures? Again, important classification. So if you look at the type 1, which is an undisplaced fracture of the neck of the talus. So if you see, that's only one source is disrupted, which is the intramedullary artery may have been injured. The extramedullary arteries, the external sources, have not likely been disrupted. AVN chances are only 10%. Type 2 Hawkins is where there is subluxation of the talar neck fracture with subluxation of the subtalar joint. In here, 2 sources have been disrupted, so the AVN chances are about 40%. In type 3, where both the subtalar joint and the ankle joint have been disrupted, the AVN chances are 70%. 3 sources have been cut off, and all sources have been cut off through, if there's a talonavicular dislocation as well. So AVN chances in these cases are 100%. So if you see, Hawkins tells us about the possibility of getting an AVN in talus fractures. So if we classify the fracture properly with the Hawkins classification, we can actually have an idea of how, what to tell the patient really about the eventual prognosis, and what is going to happen in the future, and what to expect really from our fixation as well. So in classification, we can classify as open or closed fractures. So open fractures, we know that already, open are always much more severe injuries, and they are more urgently to be treated. However, the closed injuries have been shown that even if we have a delay of fixation of the talus fractures, it does not really affect the eventual outcome or the AVN chances of AVN. So if we see AVN, it depends on the early fracture. If we get early reductions, please don't mind my handwriting is not very good, but early reduction of dislocations is the key to the treatment. Okay, so dislocations have to be reduced early. The fracture fixation may not, depending on the soft tissue injury and the swelling, we can delay the fracture fixation, the definitive fracture fixation, for some time, as long as we reduce the dislocations. So let's delete all this, and then we go to radiography. So what are we looking for in radiography? We do the normal APN lateral series, in which you have the ankle APN lateral, and then you get a foot APN oblique views, and then there is a special view which is called the canal view. This is really a view which you can see on the right side is the canal view. So in this, how do you do this canal view? So basically it is, you take an X-ray with the foot or the ankle internally rotated about 15 degrees, then you angle the beam at 75 degrees to the horizontal, and in this you can see the ankle looks like an AP view if you look at the ankle, but you can actually see the whole profile of the neck of the talus in here. So you can see the whole neck here in profile, and this is the fracture which you can see in here. So it gives us the whole profile of the neck in a very good, and that's where we want to do a canal view. Especially if you don't have access to a CT scan, you would want to get a canal view on radiography. Okay. So